Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are tuning in to the Go Indie Now channel. This is the Green Room with me, David Green, and I have a very exciting lineup with me tonight. It's great to be back on our third episode of where people are trying to convince me to put their pet peeve is worse than someone else's pet peeve. The stakes could never be higher than they are on the Green Room. So with me tonight, I have Anita Stewart and Frank Martin. How are you both doing tonight?
Doing great.
Fabulous.
Oh, this afternoon, like, because you probably both, it's afternoon or something. It's tonight for me. We'll just say la vie. We'll get on with it. Everyone who is watching at home, please comment because we're going to be talking about a lot of different comments. You know the drill by now. We do 3 rounds where each contestant has a turn at pitching me where pet peeve should go into the green room for all time. But I want to hear what you all say about it as well. Let me know what you think about all the topics. It will not sway me. I am resolute in my tastes. The only people that can sway me are A.F. Stewart and Frank Martin. So why don't we introduce yourself to everyone who's watching? Anita, why don't you go first?
Okay, I'm Anita Stewart. I write under A.F. Stewart. I write all things dark and stabby, horror, fantasy, and poetry. Also do some steampunk. I've got a sci-fi serial that I have to get back to over on Ko-fi. And I do design art over on Redbubble too. So, oh, and I host a couple of podcasts too. One for Go Indie Now as well, called Roads to Kill.
You just do so much that you can't remember everything that you do.
Oh no, I don't remember anything.
I do all this stuff too, but all these other things. But Frank, how are you doing? Please introduce yourself.
I'm doing fabulous. My name is Frank Martin. I am an author and comic writer, so I work in both mediums, and I span a whole bunch of different genres from sci-fi, fantasy, comedy, horror. I put out a lot of comic books through Kickstarter. I crowdfund them, and I actually have one launching tomorrow. So all great things.
Excellent. Well, good luck on the launch as well. This is quite a well timed to come on here then to let people know that you have something launching tomorrow, and we can talk about that a little bit later as well. So obviously you're both here on the Green Room, and for people that are watching on YouTube or wherever it is that you're watching this, there is actually a prize for this as well. So there is a prize. It's twofold. The winner, not only did they get to come back with me on Friday, this coming Friday, for an hour-long interview, they also get some sponsorship on some other Go Indie Now programs, which you may have seen this weekend. But also, the person that comes second, I don't like to say loser, but the loser gets to talk with Ron La for half an hour on Friday as well, which is like, it's not really a nice prize to have to talk to Ron for half an hour, but somebody's got to do it, and it's going to be one of you two. So let's get on with it. Let's go into the first round. So we're going to go with Frank first. I think Anita, you've been on every single Go Indie Now show at this point now. So Frank,
Maybe.
Yes. Well, I have not been on character driven yet, but I am scheduled. So
there you go. You're gonna have the clean sweep. So I think we'll go. Well, your Frank is less experienced with Go Indie Now. Let's go with Frank as he can go first for topic 1. So I am ready and willing to be persuaded.
So this might not go for a whole bunch of writers, but for me, a big pet peeve is when people ask me, when you come up with a story, what type of medium do you want to do it for? So that kind of puts it in my head, because I write a lot of comics and I write a lot of novels or short stories. For me, the idea and the medium go hand in hand. It's not like I come up with an idea and then I sit down and say, okay, should this be a screenplay? Should this be a stage play, a radio play, a novel, a short story? It's almost like I come up with both simultaneously. Like the idea itself is embedded in the medium, so that I know if it's going to be a comic, I know how the story is going to unfold, how it would work on a comic page. Same thing. If it's going to be a first person story, I just know right off the bat what that would look like and how we can only tell this story from inside the characters' heads. So that's a little bit of a pet peeve for me.
So the peeve is when people kind of come up with an idea and they have no way to execute it, and they're kind of asking you like, well, how are you going to do this? And you're like, hey, I've already figured all this out.
It's an interview question that I get a lot. Oh, you like write comic books and you write novels? How can you tell if an idea is going to be one or the other? And I'm like, well, I kind of even know that it's spontaneous. As soon as you get the idea, they're so intertwined that it's not like it's a two-step process.
Yeah, I have the same feeling when people ask me that question because I write in short stories and novels. So it's the same. It's like, yeah, the story tells you what it's going to be, people.
And so, because certain things only work for certain types of mediums, right? So, like, you know, if you come up with a certain idea, it's going to, and you are like a writer that writes in different types of fields. There's some things are only going to suit certain aspects of what you do, isn't it? So it's, you know.
Yeah, I love, one of the reasons I love comics is because there's just so many tools in the toolbox to play around with. And that's why a lot of times you see a lot of people complain if it's a novel adaptation to a film or from a film to a comic book. You're not comparing apples to apples. So there's always something changing. There's always something mixing in order to fit the story to that medium. So it's not like writers sit down and say, I got a great idea. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to tell it. It's already there. You know, it's just inherently part of whatever the story is. And if you want it to be something else, it requires work in order to make that triangle fit that square hole, you know?
Yeah. What do you think? And by the way, I am taking notes. Yes, I am not drawing pictures of teapots. You see, I take the notes, and also these double up as my notes for when I come back to interview you on Friday. So, you know,
Ooh.
Organized. It's very organized.
If you are drawing pictures, though, we have to see them at the end.
I do doodle. I'm not gonna lie. I do doodle around my notes as well. So, Anita, what do you think on this one? Is it a pet peeve? Is it a peeve that you share, or is it, you know, something you can live with?
It's a little peeve. I don't think it really ranks in the top 10 of my peeves, but yeah, it does kind of annoy me a teeny bit.
Yeah. And you write, your writing is mainly just, you know, like, you know, long form writing, but in terms of like you do short stories, you do fiction, novella, novels, but you don't kind of do like other types of mediums of stories, do you?
No, but I mean, I do multiple genres. I do multiple storylines. I do flash fiction as well as, and I also do poetry as well. And I've gotten that question about, you know, how do you know something's a poem as opposed to, you know, it's like you just know.
Yeah. This kind of topic reminds me a little bit of when you kind of like, I write a lot of fantasy stuff, and I've written other genres as well, but the fantasy is my main thing, and as a reader as well. And it kind of reminds me when people are like, well, you know, how is it you need to write what you know to do a story? It's like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Like, why do all these things exist then? I didn't know.
Yeah, I would like to state I have never murdered anyone, and I've killed off a lot of people in my books. So
Right.
You don't need to write what you know. You just have to
But
do a lot of research.
You also have to say that just in case anyone's watching who could, you know, put a call into the police.
This is admissible in court, just so
Right.
everyone's aware.
Exactly. All right. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, I do understand that peeve. I don't write comics or anything like that, but I have written screenplays, and it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're very different. Right?
I got an idea. It's a movie. It's not a book, so that's how I'm going to write it.
Right. Exactly. Anita, go ahead. You have the podium.
Okay, my first topic is authors who put their books in the wrong categories. Drives me mad. And especially if you're doing a group promo, that's another variation of it. Authors who submit books to book promos where it's very obvious it's the wrong genre. I mean, they're just doing it to rank, they're doing it to get into the promo, and it's not helpful, it's annoying, and it's not going to find your readers, authors, okay? Because I mean, I went over to women's poetry over on Amazon bestsellers because I was trying to check out the books to get help with the blurb. for my latest poetry book, and I found a bear shifter romance in women's poetry and a suspense, a romance suspense in women's poetry. Why in the world would any author in their right mind put a bear shifter romance in poetry? It's not even poems. I don't understand this. It's bad practice, and those poor two author poetries who did not rank in the top 100 because there was a bear shifter romance and a mystery suspense in poetry probably would have liked to rank. I'm just saying. So not only did they do themselves no favors, they did those other two authors a disservice as well. And it's the same way with promos. I've created horror promos, and I've had romance authors submit to a horror promo. I mean, why would they think I would accept them? I mean, some of them were paranormal romance, so maybe I could see they gave it a shot, you know. But I had a straight romance novel author submit to a horror promo once. It's just ridiculous. And as far as the submitting to the Amazon categories, the wrong books, Amazon is penalizing authors on this now. I mean, it's more nonfiction so far than fiction, but Amazon, they're fickle and they'll just hit up anybody for any reason whatsoever when the whim takes them. So it's not a safe practice anymore either to try and rank. And what gets me about this especially is because categories on places like Amazon and other retailers and genre promos and whatever, they're not designed for ranking. I mean, yeah, you can rank in them and that's great and it helps your visibility and all that. But their original purpose and their best purpose is to target your readers. Now, if you've got a bear shifter romance, you do not want to target women's poetry fans. Trust me.
Yeah. So, Anita, I have questions.
Okay.
What
About
is
bear shifters?
bear shifter romance?
Well, you don't want a shifter. You don't want a shifter.
I know that, yeah, but specifically bears.
Basically, you take the wolves and turn them into bears, and you get bear shifter romances. Just be glad it wasn't a dino porn romance. That's all.
But yeah, I have seen one of those ones. So do the bears hibernate for 6 months as well?
I don't know. I've never read a bear shifter romance. That's what was in the title. Bear shifter romance.
I have questions about this too. So is it like, does he transform into a hairy guy? Like, is he halfway bear to begin with? And then
Madeline might be able to answer that. She's in the audience now. So Madeline, do tell us about bear shifter romances because we don't know anything.
Is she a fan of bear shifter romances?
Well, she knows her shifters, so she may have read a bear shifter romance. I have no idea.
I know some guys are halfway woolly bear to begin with, so it's just another. It's like one extra step to go. Yeah,
I've a lot of This is giving me a lot too much to ponder. I think specifically about the bears because you can't write any of the stories over winter because they would be hibernating if the bears, right? So it's not. It's like only summer stories, spring and summer.
Well, consider my shock. I went in there to find blurbs for women's poetry books, and I found a bear shifter.
Right. Was it any good? Did you buy it? No. Yes. So some of the comments, and keep your comments going on because obviously we're coming to the end of topic one. We're going to talk about topic one for a little bit longer, but let us know what you think is the topic that is your favourite so far. But yeah, I've seen this a lot, and I have also put on promos on Book Funnel and stuff, and you specifically say like, especially when you have urban fantasy stuff, and you're like urban fantasy, but we don't want any topless shirtless men. Covers, you just get inundated with those kind of ones.
I mean, but you have to put those things in your promos because authors do submit. I mean, like I said, I have had romance authors submit to a horror promo. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm trying to target horror fans. We want gore and guts and psychological people stabbing each other. We don't want nice, happy ever after stories. So,
Yes,
You know, and it
exactly.
makes me feel bad when I have to have to kick these people out. It's like, don't make me feel
Hmm.
bad, please.
Well, it's like you say as well, they're not doing themselves any favors in the long run, because it is just one of
No.
those things where it's like, here's a kind of easily rankable category that I can get an orange tag on, but it's going to actually hide my book from people that actually would like this, and people that wouldn't like it are picking it up and thinking, this isn't what I thought this was going to be. This, it's like,
Yeah.
and I see it a lot in fantasy. There's a category on Amazon that is quite easy to chart on fantasy, which is called Greco-Roman historical, and it's like you get all of this like just pure fantasy stuff about assassins.
I've seen some of those bestseller lists too. It's like, yeah. I mean, I think I might have put my book in, but my book is actually based on Greek mythology. So
That's fine. That's
yeah.
fine if it is. But like, there's a lot of things where it's, if there is a link, it's extremely tenuous. So what do you think about this one, Frank? Have you ever miscategorized one of your things just to get an orange tag?
No, I'm not very big on tags and rankings and stuff like that. And if I were, or if I did run promos, seeing that would bother me. But to be honest, I'm so busy focused on what I'm doing. I don't really pay attention to what other people are ranking as or where they put their promo. I'm just so focused on me that stuff doesn't really bother me. But I guess it is an annoying feature. I wish people didn't do that. I think it would just make the publishing world more seamless and have less issues. But it doesn't rank as a pet peeve for me just because it's just passing me by. I just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's both very good topics, and this is the problem with the green room. When I came up with this idea, was that I was thinking this would be a good idea, but then I realized that I would be the one that has to decide who wins, which has always been a struggle since the first episode. So I like both those topics. I will think about them as we go on. But everyone watching, let us know who you feel was the stronger one, the stronger nomination for the green room, as we go into topic 2. I may have caught. Oh, excellent! There he is. I was thinking I may have caught you by surprise there. Okay, so Frank, you went first last time. So Anita, you are up first. Take it away.
Okay, this one's a kind of a timely topic right now because it came up a little while ago, a couple months ago, and it's authors who go off on reviewers. Now, I know we've all had bad reviews, and I know they all suck because I've had some and they really suck. But you have to resist actually engaging with the reviewer who gave you a bad review, because I mean, you're not doing yourself any favors with it, because you're coming off as the bad guy when you do that. Because even if they didn't like your book, even if they gave you a bad review, and I'm talking about honest bad reviews here, not some troll or some idiot who thinks he bought macaroni and is reviewing your book because he didn't like macaroni. Because if someone took the time to review your book and didn't like it, well, that sucks, sure, but they don't have to like your book. I mean, there's nothing in their contract that says, "Oh, I'm reviewing this book. I have to like it," and you have to kind of just suck it up, which is not nice, but it's what you have to do. And if you go and you call out reviewers on your social media, because some authors have done this recently, and reviewers have actually gotten up in arms and said, "No, no more on this," and authors have called them out, and they've actually gotten their fans to troll the reviewers and stuff, and that's just wrong. It's just wrong, and it's something that shouldn't happen, and just needs to be kicked off the table entirely.
Yes. The one good thing about it, though, is the drama when you're not involved in it. When you'd be like, wow.
Okay, I will give you that, because yeah, it is fun watching the other people.
Right, watching the meltdown and thinking, I'm glad I'm not involved in this. And it's also, why are they doing this? This is just like, But you touched upon something there that is actually, I think, is quite serious, and it goes beyond even reviews. It's people that have like a sizable following, highlighting certain comments or certain things, and having a whole bunch of people descend on someone and giving them a really hard time, which happens quite a lot. I think it's something that, like, if you have got a following, you have to be very, very careful about what you say and what you do online, because you can just make people very, very rabid and go after people.
Yeah.
I think this is a good one. I remember when I was in college and I had a creative writing course, and you had to workshop your story. You were forced to just sit there and let everybody talk about it, and you weren't allowed to say anything. You just had to take it all, the good and the bad. But as like a 2-part kind of reply, I think Anita is perfectly 100% right as far as online interactions. You see reviews posted, you don't engage. You just got to ignore them, or just let it go, let it one ear and out the other. But if I'm in person with someone who doesn't like my book, and they're not like trolling me, but they're honestly just said I didn't like it, I would like to hear their feedback and engage with them, because I think online everything loses context. It's just a back and forth, and it never ends well. But if you have a conversation with someone, you're sitting down, you're having coffee, they didn't like your book, I think that's perfectly acceptable to just engage with them, not defensively, but just to kind of get through what they didn't like about it and take their critique to heart. Doesn't mean you have to change anything, but it's always good to have in the back of your head.
Yeah, I'm similar to you. I came from when I first started writing, I was doing creative writing lessons where it would be like critiquing and sitting there listening to what everyone thought about your very first draft of something that you just only started doing, and like you have to develop a thick skin, and also I think you do get a lot of good feedback from negative reviews sometimes, because and sometimes you can look at it and go, actually, this is exactly what I wanted to do with this book, and it's not going to work for everyone. And I'm glad that you're highlighting these things, because other people can see it in a review and go, okay, well, this book isn't going to be for me.
Yeah, you can learn a lot of stuff from negative reviews as much as you can from the positive ones as well, which is, again, another reason why you should not interact with negative reviewers.
Yeah. I wonder what it is that, we've all had the temptation, I think, just to kind of, because it's your thing that you've worked on for so long, and even if you have your own opinions about it, like in your own scheme of things, how good you think it actually is, when you see someone like really criticize it, you want to defend it, because it's like it's one of your babies, basically, and you have to. It's the same. It's the same when you get your first edits through from your editor. You have to look at them and then go and walk away for a little while and come back to it.
I mean, and you're perfectly capable of just yelling at the screen for 10 minutes and just keep your fingers off the keyboard. That's all I'm saying.
One of my favorite things to do online is to write a reply, a big long paragraph rant, and then just delete it. It always feels good afterwards.
It's like, I want to see you create something, you piece of shit.
Just keep it to yourself, and then just send it off into the ether.
Yeah. Nikki DeCaster came up with a good comment. Not the one about me loving drama. I do like to see other people doing drama. I just don't like to be involved in it. I do like it. But there was another one about hit and publish, and it's yes, that's the one. Great stuff, Joe. It is true, and I was talking about this over the weekend, that when you send something out into the world, you don't really own it anymore, and people's relationship with it they'll have their own relationship with the work, positive or negative, and they will draw their own parallels to it. And it's one of those things that it's like, it's hardly worth even discussing it sometimes, because people are always going to have their own opinions and views on it, no matter what it is, and they could be wildly just out of context to what you had intended. But
I wrote a blog. We're getting a little bit off topic, but I wrote a blog post a while back about, it was called the sixth building block of storytelling, because we all know we have character, plot, theme, tone, and you can control all these things, but the sixth one you can't control, which is a reader or a viewer's own personal experience. Whatever
Right.
whatever they're bringing to the story, everyone's going to experience that story differently, regardless of what your intentions are. So
Mhm.
it's just like an X factor. If sometimes you write a traumatic scene, if somebody's experienced a trauma like that, they're going to come at it from a completely different angle than somebody who didn't.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, you know what? We could actually talk about this all day. This is a very good. I mean, this is a great topic, like ownership of stuff and engaging with reviews and everything. It's a really great topic to kind of get into. Maybe we'll do it on a This Week in Indies at some point, Joe. Maybe that's a good topic. But yeah, great stuff, and a lot of good interaction there with the comments as well. Frank, no pressure. It was a good topic.
that was a good topic. Now I'm thinking I got to take my 2 and bump it to 3. I got to defer it because I think I got a good one too, and I don't want it to go up against the heavy hitter.
Right. Game in it. I like it. Game plan.
All right.
Frank, go on.
So this is my biggest pet peeve as a writer and pretty much as a person, which is the pressures of social media. And we live as writers in a completely different age than people that were writing 100 years ago or even 50 years ago or 40 or 30 years ago. And you can't just be a writer right now. Everybody has to be some form of an influencer. And I truly hate it and I despise it. And my wife owns a Pilates studio and she's very good with it. She has Instagram and she's constantly posting about what she's doing, taking pictures of her life and putting it on there to create engagement. And she asks me all the time, why don't you do that in your Instagram? And I'm just like, that's not what I want to do. That's not who I am. And I hate the fact that I have to conform to this social world of social media in order to get eyeballs on my work. And it's just, there's very little I can do about it. It's just kind of the world we live in right now. But it's definitely ranks up there as my biggest pet peeve in this author world.
Because I mean, there's a lot of things that you can kind of look into with this for why it is troublesome and problematic. Because one of them is that it takes so much time to do it as well. Where it's like, and once you're yeah, good gaming aspect. I mean, if you're self-publishing enough, or if you're working with an indie press where the compared to like a trad press where the timelines are more constrained and you're more hands-on, there's more communication, like, and there's, like for trad publishing, you might send off your book and then a year later your edits come in, and then a year later the book comes out, right? But in indie, it's like, it's months. So and then you're already working on the next thing. And if you're doing comic books like you would be doing, it's a tighter timeline and there's a lot of moving pieces. It's like, where do you get the time to do all these stuff over the countless social medias that there are at the moment, that everyone is saying, no, you should be doing this now. And then yeah, Twitter's not great anymore. You should be doing TikTok. And it's like, well, yeah, also you need to have your own Discord server as well. And also you need to have this. And also a YouTube channel would be quite good too.
I think it's kind of a sad state that when you submit to a publisher, they want to know your Twitter follower. They want to know what's your engagement on social media. And I get it. That kind of often leads to readership and sales, but you're taking a value that's completely separate from the work. It's
Right.
nothing to do with the merits of the story, the characters. It's all about the author. And right now it's a lot about the face that's selling the work rather than the work itself, which is extremely frustrating. People always ask me, how do you know when you've made it as an author, when you feel like you finally are a big success? And I want to say, when I could just delete all my social media and it's not going to affect anything.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, and it's one of those things as well where it's like, to be a writer, there's a specific skill set for it, right? But also there is a personality type as well, and there's going to be exceptions. You will get some very extroverted writers, and you'll get some very introverted writers. But generally, writers like to be inside. They like to work at their laptop or whatever it is. They like to have this world that they're creating. We don't generally like to go and do a lot of stuff in public and do all this stuff outside of our comfort zone. And being a social media influencer is all about putting your personality and your like physicality out there, which is not what we do generally. So you're asking people to do these things that is a little bit not what their personality type is. And obviously, some people are really good at it, and some people are really successful, but most people are not. It's kind of awkward. I mean, what do you feel like? Is there a specific platform that you feel like you're being pushed more to kind of spend time on, or is there one that you find quite easy to do?
I think I gravitate stuff towards the people, the things that I'm just familiar with. I don't put a whole lot of weight on it. I post on Twitter and Instagram, but they're not like my home base. I typically use Facebook a lot. But I'm not a big fan of the world that we live in. I mean, we see studies after study comes out that says social media is detrimental to people's mental health and their mental state. And it has some benefits, but for the most part, they design these apps to rewire our brain to think a specific way. And yet we live in a world that you have to be on social media in order to be successful, regardless of whatever you want to be. You want to be a plumber, you have to have an Instagram account. You want to be a chef, you have to be posting on TikTok, cooking all the time. It's like it's just push, and it's don't like the direction that it's headed.
Yeah, sure. So, Anita, what do you think about this? But also, I always to kind of play devil's advocate. I mean, and it's not a great example to use these days, but I remember when Harry Potter first came out, and when J.K. Rowling was doing a lot of like blogs, interviews on TV and what have you about it, on radio and what have you. It was never about the books. They were always wanting to ask about her story, about like, she was a single mother and this and this and this. Has it always been more about the writing and then the work at the base level, and then people fall in love with the work afterwards? Has that always been the way?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, I guess it has. I mean, Steve, and people have been interested in Stephen King. I mean, when he had his accident, everybody was, all about that and stuff. But yeah, I think social media has pushed it up quite a bit to the forefront. Personally, I am not an influencer, and I don't care to be an influencer. And I think my brain's wired just wrong anyway, so I don't think the apps are doing anything to me. But I mean, I just do my own thing, and if they like my thing, good. If they don't like my thing, well, I have my newsletter. So
yeah, it's the attention span thing that gets me though, because like I actually don't mind a lot of social media stuff, and obviously we do a lot of like YouTube stuff for going in and out. The going in and out network. It's social media to an extent, but it's long form, and it's great to go in and get and have a chat with people. And it's that like 10-second video thing.
Yeah. Okay, I will disagree slightly with you there, because I do like making the YouTube shorts for my designs. It's fun, and I actually have gotten a lot of views on those YouTube shorts for my design stuff. So I mean, it doesn't take long. I don't have to be on camera. I just put up the designs, do little graphic things, throw some music on it, and put it up on YouTube, and that's it.
Well, that's about the work though as well. You're focusing on the work. Yeah.
But, I like making videos. So I mean, goofy stuff. I mean, I'm not an expert at it. So I mean, I don't edit. I just throw junk together and put music to it. So
I might be more hypersensitive to it too, because I come from the crowdfunding side of things, which is if we have a 15-day campaign, we have 15 days to make our sales. So people feel that pressure to bombard social media and get as many eyeballs in that time period as possible.
Right. Yeah.
So, trying to get something promoted on social media. No.
Right. Well, this is another strong one. This is one again we could talk about it till, as we say around here, till the cows come home, but we cannot because we have a time constraint, and we need to do topic 3, and then some fool needs to decide who the winner is of these excellent topics so far. So let's get on with topic 3. So, Frank, this is your turn.
Sure. This is a bit of an offshoot from my topic 1. And the question is, do characters have minds of their own? And some writers believe that, yes, they have minds of their own. They have their own wants and their own feels. and feelings and whatever direction they want to go, whatever actions they want to take. As a writer, you can't control them. They know where they want to go, and you got to push them in that direction. And you can give them a little shove, but at the end of the day, if they want to do something else, you got to kind of follow that trail. And other people are saying that's ridiculous. You're the writer. It's all coming from your head, and you make it up as you go. So there's no excuses for coming up with an ending saying that the characters wanted to do that. And I disagree with that. I think characters really do have a mind of their own. And yes, as a writer, you can force a character to do a specific thing. But when I do that and I have an ending where I push some sort of agenda as the writer on the characters, it doesn't sit right in my stomach because I know that's not the way the story is supposed to be, really. And I just feel so much better if I just kind of sit back and get inside these characters' heads and feel what they want to feel and let them have at it and just let it be where it is. And then when people criticize that and I say, look, the character wanted to do this, and if they don't understand that, that's on them.
So essentially it's character-driven stories versus where people are just making characters fit the plot because they have a plot in mind. It's like, this is what they do.
I wrote it down in my notes. Do characters have minds of their own? Who is in control, characters or the writer?
Right. And you would come down on mainly the characters.
I would say mainly the characters. Yeah. And you just, it's like when people ask me, how do you know you're working great with an editor? It's because editors, when they want to do story development and I feel like I have a good connection with them, they're telling me things I already know, something that I wrote about a story that I don't feel is right. And if they're telling me that to really solidify that opinion, then it's a good connection. Kind of the same thing with the characters. If I have a character do something that's out of character, that doesn't feel right, I kind of know it in my heart, because that character has a mind of their own, and if I'm forcing them to do something against their will, it's not going to sit right with me.
Right. Yeah, because you know it because you are just foisting a plot on them that makes no sense to their journey so far.
I said something when I was doing an interview one time, and we were talking about comic books and how we structure our scripts. And he says, do you write your descriptions and then your dialogue? And I say, well, if I'm in a scene and two characters are talking back and forth, I'll just let the dialogue flow because I don't want to interrupt them. And he thought that was hilarious, that these fictional characters, that I don't want to interrupt their conversation. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of when the two characters are interacting and they're just having a back and forth, it kind of just comes naturally. I don't have to think too hard about it.
Right. Yeah. And I do have a few kind of peeves around this kind of thing as well, because I would generally be writing quite character-driven things, and like I would have like a plot and a story and whatever, but also there's the room there for characters to work within that. It's like I kind of look at it as in like a Judd Apatow movie where there's a framework and then the characters go in and improvise inside of that framework, and then we say, oh, this is actually better than what I thought I was going to do.
And then the plot outline gets changed. Somebody decides to kill someone in one scene, be like, oh, I guess they're not showing up for a while. I got to write them out of the next one. Exactly.
And I one of my peeves that arise from this is that, and it's not from writers or anything like that. It's mostly kind of like it mostly arises from reviewers and readers, is when they don't like it when characters make mistakes. They a lot of times it's like characters have to be infallible all the time, but it's like, where's the fun in that, right? Because characters are the flaws are what makes them interesting, and the mistakes and everyone makes mistakes in real life. So it's like, why is it that characters in a story have to be like making the right decisions all the time and being absolutely the best possible way that it can be? You know what I mean? And I think that's where that plot thing comes over it, where it's like, well, if it's plot, then it's the characters are making the right decisions all the time, and it's fitting into this plot, and it feels not very authentic to me. So what do you think about this one, Anita? Where would you lie on the characters?
Oh, I'm definitely in the characters have a mind of their own camp, because I plot my books and I have outlines and scene outlines, and the characters still do what they want. I've had a character change his motivation halfway through a trilogy. I've had one character decide she was a double agent. And I've had another character decide he was going to get murdered when he was supposed to survive. So, yeah, characters do what they want. You just go with it. I mean, it's just an evolution of what you're writing.
Mm. And do you come across? I mean, the thing that Frank was talking about, where you get some people that say that that absolutely not. They don't. The writer controls everything. It's not an organic thing.
We don't control anything.
Yeah. Do you come across people with that point of view, though? Have you come across many people?
Yes, I've come across people with that point of view, and then I tell them, no, they're wrong. So
you're just wrong. You don't know what you're talking about.
You are wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one because I can see both points in it. But even though I would agree with both of you that there is autonomy with the characters, but I can see where it's like, well, obviously it all comes from here. But if anyone spent any time in here, they would know there is no grand plan for anything. So there is that as well.
Yeah, but even when you have a grand plan, the grand plan does not stay the same.
Exactly. There is no rhyme or reason inside our heads. So great stuff, Frank. You can relax. Your topics are done. Anita, all the pressure is on you with this one. This could be the decider. Who knows? I know.
Who knows?
Okay. My third topic. We're going back to social media a little bit, and the one thing that really irks me are eager beaver artists and authors who friend you on social media and then immediately try to sell you something like 10 minutes after you've accepted their friend request, or they go and you like one of their posts in a group, say, and then 10 minutes later you get an invite to like their page. It's like, I like to post. I don't know you. Why are you inviting me to like a page? It's like, and you only friended me for what? To sell me your book? To sell me your artist skills? That's a little rude, don't you think? It's a very bad impression you're giving someone who could be a customer, who could be a fellow author to help you promote or even buy your book, if you cultivate the relationship properly. Asking someone to buy something right away from a stranger, which is basically what you are when you friend someone you don't know on social media, you're still strangers. It's just very distasteful, and it's not going to get you what you want. And I wish people would stop doing it. It really annoys me.
Yes. Now this is I think this has happened to me 3 times today, just today, and it's like, it's got to the point where it happens so often you can kind of tell from someone's profile if it's going to be the case.
I've taken to, especially on Instagram, I've taken to not actually returning follow requests from artists. I've gotten so many people asking me do you need an artist? It's like, I do my own covers. I'm very vocal about the fact I do my own covers. I don't need an artist.
Yeah.
And I've gotten requests from children's artists on this. I'm a horror writer. I don't think we fit in the right genre here. It's like...
Yeah. I always like, Instagram is particularly bad for it. I mean, Facebook is as well, obviously, because on Facebook it's more like a personal thing. Obviously, it's Facebook, but
yeah, you get more of those like a post invite immediately.
Yeah. And they're quite. I mean, they pop up there, but there's so much stuff that pops up on Facebook as well. But with Instagram, there's that thing where it's like, if you just put a picture of your book, that you've got a book coming out, or or a book has just come out, or whatever, and always the first few comments are always like, "Come and work with us. We'd love to collaborate." And then they send you DMs, and it's like, we'll review your book for like $50, and we'll give you like 100 reviews. It's like, just go away, stop it.
But yeah, I mean, it's not even that they're scammers. That these people, they're they're either inexperienced authors who don't know better and should know better because they should research this stuff, or artists who are just, I don't know, getting desperate because of AI or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it is difficult, and people are trying to hustle as as much as
Yeah,
they
but
can.
at least get 2 days or something.
At least buy me dinner first before you
Yeah.
slide into the
It's like,
DMs.
I mean, I've had people 5 minutes after I've accepted a friend request do this. It's like literally 5 minutes. It's
Right.
crazy.
That's quite polite, actually. 5 minutes. Like sometimes it's like instant. Sometimes it's like a full barrage. It's like the whole thing comes through in one go, and it's like they're just really eager to do it. Do you get a lot of this, Frank? Do you get a lot of eager beavers like popping up on your social media?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the comic community especially, and especially with Kickstarter. Like I said, that time crunch, people feel the pressure to promote. So I get constantly friend requests and messages, and also artists. Like you said, artists are always hungry for work, so they're constantly reaching out. Honestly, it used to annoy me. It doesn't really annoy me anymore because for two reasons. Number one, it tells me a lot about that person that they don't know what they're doing, essentially. But also, I view it as a little bit of a teachable moment. If I see this person, if I know them around, but I haven't had any personal connection to me, I'm like, look, thank you for reaching out, but your first message to me as a sales pitch, probably not a good look, So it didn't really get under my skin the way it used to. But you know what? I know a comic creator, and what they do when they have a book is they go on a Facebook ad that's like if they have a magical series, they go to a Harry Potter post that has 400 comments, and then they will send their sales pitch out to each one of them individually. And at that point, it's a numbers game. It's a shotgun approach. If they solicit 400 people and they hit 1% of them, that's 4 customers. So it's not for me. I really wouldn't want people to do that, but people do what they have to do to make that paper.
But my question to that guy is, you got 4 customers. How many customers did you piss off in them?
Right.
Because, if someone did that to me, I would never buy their book ever.
Yeah.
It's solicitation. It's the same thing as sending flyers in the mail into random mailboxes, hoping to get somebody. It turns me off. I'm not really about it, but if people are going to do it, they're going to do it.
I'd love to get some random flowers in the mail. That's never happened to me. That'd be amazing. Anyone wants to send me flowers, please do.
Not flowers, flyers.
Oh, flyers.
Pamphlets, mailers.
Yeah, I get plenty of flyers. I don't want any more of those. So yeah, wow, this is a tough one. So because I think this is actually the toughest one so far. Actually, like all 3 topics. This is a very, very close one. So because it's so close, we're going to take an ad break while I have a think about things. So here is what you can win.
Lovecraft was wrong. Fear isn't the strongest emotion. Fear only causes 3 reactions: fight, flight, or freeze. Love, on the other hand, love is limitless and far more deadly. Nikki DeKister has also penned 2 books in the Bittersweet Empathy series, which follows Amy Doreen, an apathetic deviant suddenly struck with the ability to feel and manipulate people's emotions. At first, it's all in seemingly good fun, but the people she touches loses something of themselves and are never quite the same afterward, including Amy herself. Through blackouts, bleedovers, and the surety she's being watched, Amy must discover the horrifying truth behind her empathy before her 6th sense becomes her only sense. Available in Kindle Unlimited and paperback. See NikkiDeKuster.com and PhoenixFeatherEdits.com for more.
Today's show is sponsored by Nikki DeKester with Phoenix Feather Edits. Phoenix Feather Edits offers uplifting and detailed support for your story. Each tale is unique, beautiful, and worth being told as only you can tell it. Nikki assists with shoring up structural, character, pacing, and plot elements as needed so that your story shines as brightly on the page as it does in your soul. Nikki specializes in developmental editing, manuscript evaluations, and outline critiques. Contact her for a free 1,000-word sample edit to see if she's the right fit for you and the story burning from your fingertips.
Let us all know what you all think, who is the winner, and also on that note of that wonderful advert that you can get for the winners of the Green Room. I have used Nikki's development edits for my last 2 books, and she is a brilliant developmental editor. So if anyone is looking for someone, then please do check her out. And she's a great writer as well. But also let us know who you think has won, because this is the toughest one so far out of these. But I have made a decision, so let us talk about the topics. So, topic 1, miscategorizing books versus execution of ideas and writing for the medium. Both really, really strong. I do understand the question of like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to turn this into this and this. It's like, no, the different mediums and adapting things when people get really annoyed about books being adapted to movies and stuff. It's like, they're different. They have to be different. So I get that. But also, the miscategorizing books, I think, was the winner in the first topic. Because not just because of the Bear Shifter romance is blowing my mind, but because I just think it so just defeats the purpose of the whole point, and it actually in the long run it doesn't do the writer any good, because you're just not going into the right pool for readers. So Anita gets the first point on that one. Topic 2, we had Anita with authors who go off on reviewers versus you can't just be a writer these days. It has to be you have to be an influencer, and the pressure to use social media. Both really, really strong topics. Both ones that we could talk about for a very, very long time on both sides of them. But I will just Frank's shade it just a little bit, just because I think there is a real pressure in it, and it's one of those things that some people really, really stress over. And with the people that go off reviewers, I think authors that go off on reviews, I think if people are going to do that, then that is their problem. But also, it's quite fun to watch. So there's that. So Frank, going into the last topic, one-on-one, and this was a tough one because I am plagued with eager beavers. Like, absolutely plagued by them on everything, on every single social media. And I am one of these writers that are like told you have to have social media and everything. So I get lots of eager beavers. But also, I really dislike it when people put plot before character and make characters do really weird stuff that characters shouldn't be doing. And yeah, it was a tough one. It's really, I'm still going back into my mind on it, but I think I will have to go with Frank on this one as well. So, Frank, you are the winner. It's Frank. This time, congratulations.
Thank you, David. Come from behind win, but Anita definitely gave me a run for my money. I agree with everything she was saying. So
I agree with Frank too. So
yeah, I tell you what, it was tough, and that last one, in 10 minutes time, I could go the other way. So
end the show. We're done. I gotta go.
I will say one thing, David. You may regret picking me as the loser, because Ron and I will be talking gardening. So
well.
I'm just warning everybody, gardening will be discussed.
Well, you know what as well, you'll give Ron a really hard time, so that's good. I like it when people give Ron a hard time. So, but Frank, congratulations. And Anita, I don't like to say there are losers on this show, because you got one thing into the green room as well, but there were amazing topics. Love talking to both of you. Congratulations, Frank. Thank you very much, Anita, for coming on. Thank you to everyone for watching and commenting and spreading the word of Going In Out and the Green Room. And remember, it is always time to go indie now.